you guys at one point were talking about good press up form, and that made me think. Actually, there's a couple of my clients who I would like to work on that with, but not had too much success so far. So I was thinking it'd be cool to put it out to the group. Like, what are your favorite cues for, or most successful cues for driving really good form in people's press ups? And do you guys have like a really a preferred progression that you use? Yeah, it'd be really interesting to hear what you all do for that.
You know, you all probably can predict I can blab on and on about this, but I'll wait for one of you.
Waiting for it.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, I'm so predictable.
Please, Adrian.
No, why don't you all solve this problem, and then I'll.
So like a shoulder press up.
Press up, I think, is the British way of saying push up.
Push up.
Yeah, I can never remember which way around it is, whether we say press up or you say press up, whatever.
Like, why is it a bench press and a push up in North America? Right? Why isn't it a bench press and a press up? Like, this makes way more sense to me.
I agree.
So I think we've licked 50% of the problem right there.
So in terms of progressions, Ali, I go wall, like wall press up, and then obviously you change the angle to go further away or nearer.
Do you change their hand angle as well?
No, so I would at that point I wouldn't change what, like as in like the actual angle like that.
Yeah, because I found with some people, if they've got stiffer wrists particularly, then certain angles high up can it just creates it's quite uncomfortable for them. Some of them I found would benefit from sort of hands being more externally rotated, and then that's a little bit more doable for them.
Okay, well, because you don't want like excessive extension at the wrist.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay.
Some people's wrists just can't tolerate it so much.
Okay, I haven't actually run into that, but that's probably a very useful point. But I would anyway. I'll go on. So I would go from them to knees to like normal press ups, and then obviously you can add in stuff like negatives. But I would be, especially if you're getting somebody from like the wall press ups, you just make it a little bit steeper on the wall, and then you get them doing like lots of reps, and then by that point, you know, they can kind of be looking at the knee stuff. I find most people can like at least almost do the knee ones. Like, it's very rare that they actually couldn't do a single knee one. But random things for technique with me, it's like midline stabilization. So like mainly abs, but like glutes to get like the pelvic position in. Yeah. Well,
and what's your favorite cue for driving that core engagement? Because the only one I've sort of really got to hand is from yoga, which is sort of suck up your belly button, and that's only got moderate sort of. Some people get it, and others like, what? That's a bit weird.
I have a real beef with this sort of thing, because for me, when I used to hear that cue, I would go ribs flared. Like for me, that would be ribs flared. Yeah. as frick. So for me, it's the one I say is like pretend somebody's about to slap you in the belly. What would you do? But I don't know if it's perfect. I like it. I'd love to hear a better one though, and I'm open to a better one for sure.
So I think that for that, so for my progression, I try to teach it as a moving plank. If you can't maintain a good plank, you shouldn't be doing push-ups. So you definitely want to be able to have a solid plank position. And then the other part that I'd want to really fix up is scapular depression, not so much retraction, but just the keeping the shoulders in and lat activation. And then I'd also want to make sure they have an A-frame, right? And this is just how I show it, right? You'll stand there and you'll go like, here, I'm an A-frame, this is a T, this is an A, this is a T, right? Try to get that A-frame position. Again, there's no perfect position, but just trying to avoid these positions,
yeah, definitely.
These types of push-ups.
The excessive flare, yeah.
Yeah, the excessive flare. And then for the core, I mean, for like, does everybody know the Palloff press?
Yeah, love it.
So I would use the Palloff press to help to engage, to get them the sense of the obliques going. And then for the midline, what I found works really nice, if they really can't get it, is get them into a plank position and then get them to pull on something, So if you have a rope or a resistance band or something like that, and that pulling sensation really gets the core, because if they lose the core, they're going to fall down to the ground, right? Like their lower back collapse.
So like they're lifting one arm off at a time.
Yeah, plank wars. So the essential issue, like plank wars, the way I learned plank wars was at wrestling class, where you'd roughly be head to head, right? And the only attack you're allowed to do is to reach up and grab behind somebody's elbow and pull them out of their plank. Right. So, I mean, when you reach, you're on one, so you're exposed. But then you take that to sort of a fitness thing and you back everybody up a whole bunch and just get a resistance band, like a red one, or, not too heavy. And then, once you get them pulling wholly, they're going to feel, oh, wow, that's what the core is doing. That's what the lats are doing to keep me there. And it's also kind of fun. And then, for the push-up progression, I'm a sincere believer of, if you want to do push-ups, do push-ups. So just change the elevation of the hands and shoulders, and if you have the luxury of it, work that all the way down to the ground. That way their body position, core activation, everything is the same. It just gets harder and harder and harder and harder and harder until they're down at the ground.
Oh, that's great, thanks.
Yeah, otherwise there is like a very like a big difference in like the technique from like the steep wall to like even the easiest like actual horizontal one. So that was that is ideal.
Should try the plank wars though, it's fun.
Yeah, I can see my clients liking that one. I'll have to remember that.
Yeah, and then you could like go against them too, right? And then they finally beat you. They're like, yes. Right, and depending on if you need to sell another package, you let them win. It's a whole thing. It's a whole deception thing that we do, and
alongside getting them to gain and lose the same 10 pounds.
That's how you make the exercise more difficult. All you got is body weight, so just get more body weight. That worst advice of the week so far.
So far.
Got an embarrassing confession. My 5-year-old niece beat me in a plank contest.
In a which?
In a what plank?
Plank competition.
Oh, in a plank competition.
Yeah.
How was their form? You should have called them out on it.
I mean, she's fast, so she didn't do it properly. I mean, it was enough where like she was keeping her bum in the air and like knees weren't touching the floor, and she was kind of trying to copy me, but. Yeah, I think we was going for about 3 minutes, and then I was like shaking. I was just like, and she was just like dead quiet, just staring at the crowd.
That sounds awesome. I had a client, 6-year-old, come running out and be like, check this out, and then just bust out one-arm push-ups on one side, and then bust out one-arm push-ups on the other side. I'm like, jeez. And apparently, like youngsters, like 3, 4, 5, 6, like the physics of how, because they're so lightweight.
Strength to body weight.
Yeah, strength
like
to body
ratio.
weight. That's the one. Yeah. But I was just like, what? So then I was like showing him different push-up technique, and he was just nailing it. I was like, this is amazing. Yeah.
So I have a client. I've got a couple of questions that's actually relevant to this client. So it's somebody who I know a little bit. They're like an acquaintance who started training with me online only. This client is female in their 60s, I want to say. And they are, so there's a couple of things I'd love to talk with you guys about. So for starters, I've noticed, bearing in mind this is on Zoom, so I haven't done like a full movement screening or something. Maybe that's feedback already that I should be doing that actually. But I've already noticed some pretty serious anterior pelvic tilt, like permanent lumbar tension. One of my things I'd like to do is strengthen her abdominals / help her find them and find a brace to stop the anterior pelvic tilt. But she didn't want to do planks, but she didn't open with them being painful. But we tried to do dead bugs, or at least like the dead bug hold, and she said that they were painful for her lumbar. Is there anything that's flagged up for you guys already, or any thoughts you have on this? So at the moment, I'm saying we're going to get her to do like just straight bracing with like a pelvic tilt, and then I'm going to add in like wall planks. What do you guys think? You got any thoughts on this?
Have you tried to do like a cat-cow?
A cat-cow.
Overextend the lower back and then round the lower back to see if she can differentiate the two?
Yeah, so I think we did cat cow as just like a afterthought in the cool down section when we were doing some hip stretches. So she was able to do the hip stretches. She's quite overweight, so it's pretty hard to tell like her positioning. But yeah, no, she was able to do the cat cow and to like understand it. And her like I guess you'd call it like posterior chain mobility or flexibility is really good. She says that every morning when she like puts on her like socks or something, she does like a full hip hinge. And I saw her hip hinge, and her hip hinge is like amazing. Again, couldn't tell what position the lumbar was in during that hip hinge. But yeah. So what do you guys think about my plan to like it's strengthening / finding the abdominals, and it's also trying to reduce like basically teaching her to get that like more posterior pelvic tilt. Is there any exercises you guys would recommend? So I've got her doing like glute bridges and stuff as well.
So I would definitely do so for the dead bug, I would call the leg position a tabletop position because the shins are parallel to the ground, right? So I would definitely start to see if they can connect their lower back to the ground while in that position. So posterior pelvic tilt, put that lower back into the ground, and then see if they can hold that tabletop position. Then single leg extension from that position. So no arms, dead bug, just focus on that lower back being down and extending the legs away, then extending the leg where heel doesn't touch the ground. So a full extension of the leg, and they can keep it hovering, then both leg extension with the lower back down, right? And their heels don't touch the ground. Then you start in the tabletop position with the shins parallel to the ground, and keep the lower back down, and then extend the legs up towards the ceiling and lower the legs slowly, and see if they can do that without the lower back coming up. And they're probably going to need some sort of something to connect with their lower back. So if I'm in person with a client, I might take like a towel, put it under their back, have them push their lower back into it and try to tug it away from them. And if they're not pushing their lower back down, the towel comes right out. But if they are, it stays. So, but they're remote, so they might need something with a different texture. So like their lower back is on the mat, but their bum is on the hardwood floor, or something where they can kind of tell, yes, my lower back is down.
Yeah.
Right. Until you have this ability, until they have the ability to do, heels to like just above the ground, all the way to raising the legs up and down, that entire range of motion with the legs while the lower back is down.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like these ideas, but she was complaining about pain when she was going into the dead bug. So I'm not sure I even feel comfortable getting her into that position. So I feel like it's actually a level before even being able to do this. Or maybe, I mean, I said to her, we'll try it again. We'll do something else and we'll try it again in the future. But like, and because of her weight, like you're saying, we need to get her to be able to report to me like where her lumbar / pelvis position is, because I can't really tell, even when she sets up the camera really well, which isn't always, I can't really tell like that easily.
Shoot, I wish I didn't have a headset on. This might actually reach. Hold on. This is like serious improv though. No, I can't put that there. Duh. Okay. But like, are they in pain just doing this? Just being here like this?
She's not reported pain like that. She's reported pain when it's 90 in the hips.
This is lovely because my lower back is arched as hard as I can. And then my lower back is down. See if she reports pain just doing that, right? You can barely see it, but it's there, right? Then lower back down. Can she do this? Just one leg, tabletop, lower back down. The only reason I'm supporting my head is so I can see what the heck's going on my screen.
Yeah, I'm always doing that in classes.
Naturally, they would just be relaxed, right? And then can they keep lower back down and go to here? Can they keep lower back down and go to here, right? So what's the source of the pain? Because you were saying that they have really good hamstring flexibility because they can do a forward bend really well, right? So it might just be lower back down here to there. I know you can't see where the leg is going, but just like this.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And once they got that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've written down as yeah, no, I'm definitely going to do that. So like bridge position, she didn't report any pain. So actually, posterior pelvic tilt in the bridge position, that's going to be really important to yeah, like you said, to see if she can do it in that bridge position, then we're moving places. Which she's been doing glute bridges. So unless she's doing them with really tight lower back, which is certainly possible, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll definitely look into that bridge position, posterior pelvic tilts, and then I think as part of her home program now, it's just like bracing her stomach at the moment, like the most basic exercise I could think of to get this moving.
Is there
but next
any
session
chance,
I'll do that.
Is there any chance she has an ottoman or something that she could do shoulder elevated glute bridges?
We tried to do so before we did glute bridges, or as in I think it was on the B day instead of the A day. I was trying to get her to do like hip thrusts. So basically shoulder elevated glute bridges essentially off her like cushion thing, but she said she wasn't comfortable with it. So I just scooted past it. So I don't think so.
Does everybody like my shirt?
I was trying to figure out what's that from or what.
Okay, well, what is it? It's an alien, right?
It's an alien
doing abductions. Alien abductions.
Oh.
I can't believe I said it.
Wow.
Said it without getting it.
That's clever.
Of course you would have that shirt, Adrian.
Dad jokes. It's my thing.
So another question that's kind of related. What do you guys do with people who are well? I don't know how many like what percentage of your clients are like this, but this client I'm going to be seeing once a week, and at the moment I've got her on a kind of A-B program where they're both full body days, all body weight exercises, no equipment apart from bands, which are super useful in this situation. How would you guys say she's with me for the next 6 months? How would you guys keep it fresh and interesting, or do you have any mindsets on how fresh and interesting it needs to be? If there's like, progress, like I mean, I guess this is a separate question, but she's also really not very keen on like the food stuff is going to be a problem. And she doesn't want to count calories, and she's also not that up for like sorting out her food choices, and she's kind of stuck in a lot of patterns already with that sort of stuff. So she's been like, look, I really want to get the exercising nailed at first. So I've been like, okay, well, that's super useful. So actually I'm down with that. But then obviously in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, like losing the weight's going to be really useful for everything. So sorry, I know there was a lot in there. Hopefully that made sense.
I can jump in as with my incredibly limited experience. I feel like, especially, is this person like totally new to fitness, like never really been in a fitness routine before?
Yeah, at least not for a long while. Like she
Okay.
talks about walking and stuff, but it's at least been a very long time. Yeah.
So yeah, if that were my client, I wouldn't worry too much about variety. I would just really focus on like the big movements, because I sort of, especially when someone's new to fitness and or they've been out of it for more than 2 or 3 years, and especially if they are having weight issues, things like that. What I tell myself in my head is train this person like this person was your grandma. Like how would you train your grandma? And yeah, I think especially in the beginning, you don't need a ton of variety because you need a lot of practice at those big, like the main, the fundamental movements. Because I feel like the first 6 months of my, fitness journey beyond just like going on the treadmill or going on the bike, my first real foray into like resistance training and stuff like that. I think I did the same stuff like over and over again for 6 months and just, slowly increase the weight or increase the amount of reps, so I would honestly stick with the basics. Like, I feel like most newbies, especially, and this is your client that's in her 60s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially in their 60s, I can't imagine, see that demographic wanting to do the cool stuff. They're not the ones saying like, oh, I saw this cool booty band exercise on Instagram I want to try. Can we do that? They're not going to be asking for that. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about, I would just stick with the foundational movements and then the progress would be, wow, look how much easier a modified push-up
Yeah.
is. Like you struggle to get 5 in a row and now you can do 15, no sweat. That's amazing. Because I feel like even if, let's say this person only trains with you for 3 months or 6 months, you've given them a really good foundation moving forward. So if they join a gym and want to take group classes, they should have that foundational knowledge from you, to move forward in their journey without you, if they choose to do that.
Yeah, rather than if I just peppered in, if I was trying to keep it too interesting and it was just peppered in random exercises, they're not actually going to know which ones are the key ones there, and they might not have them nailed. Yeah, so I think there's an element of like, actually my priority should be to not overwhelm them, not to like constantly stimulate them like they've got ADD. Yeah.
So think about, so I was going to address it more from a mindset issue. To you, squats is boring and you've seen it 1,000 times. To them, they're maybe squatting 10 minutes a week. So for them to get bored of squats, it should take months at that volume.
Yeah.
Because they're not doing it very much, right? They're only doing it with you probably, right? Because you're saying that they have a difficult time with exercise uptake, and so for them it's probably going to be new for them the entire 6 months if that's all they're doing, right? I think that I've had several clients like this. I think, well, weren't we chatting over this over Instagram and Ellie was saying, he has a client that wasn't doing a lot, and you're like 4 months in or something, Ellie, and it was just like not going great, and the uptake wasn't as much as you'd like it to be.
Yeah, it's one of those clients who's always a bit of a battle to keep their attention.
So
engagement.
And I told you about my client, my 4-year client, who for 6 months was like that, right? And I think it was a happy coincidence because now I don't think I would have tolerated it so much. I would have asked for a greater commitment. But back then I was like, any client, anytime, right? And so I just kept with it because I was a newer trainer 4 years ago. And so I was just training whatever. And then they turned a corner, right? And I have another client now who's turning a corner on the food part. They're putting all this excellent work into the gym, and they're feeling stronger and they're losing a little bit of weight. And now they're doing things like, oh man, I wish I didn't eat that pizza at my friend's birthday, right? Like that's the next step. Okay, cool. So now next time, don't eat the pizza. And you just slowly, right? Because imagine showing up to work and they give you this like manual of things to do, kaboom, on your desk. You're like, holy crap, right? Well, this isn't work. They're paying you, so that you're gonna give them this huge list of things to do, and they're gonna be like, awesome, I'm just gonna stop paying you, right? Yeah. Like I remember working with a trainer that was kind of a mentor, like a guy I really looked up to. He had a client, and sometimes all he could get them to do is foam roll. And they're in their 60s. And so he put them through a bunch of foam rolling stuff. And he kind of snuck in foam rolling where they had to hold themselves up, right? Like when you roll the calves, you have to hold your butt off the ground. So they're like a little bit of triceps, a little bit of, a little bit of a dipping motion. And then when they were rolling their thighs, he would force this person to be on their hands. So it's kind of like a little bit of a walking push-up. And he's just like, just something.
Yeah.
Right. And they'd leave 40 minutes into their sessions like, oh, I've got to go get my hair done. Bye. Right. But I mean, they got something. And then, hopefully, because there are folks that you have to like, what is this saying about like, you catch more flies with honey or something? I don't know. There's a saying along those lines, and some people are like that. And you got to like read the room, because some people, they want like a chart and be like, okay, you're here on this, you're here on this, you're here on this. Here's how we progress. Boom, boom, boom. And they're like very A-type and like, yeah, let's do this. Right.
Yeah, like you gotta, with some people you gotta, I think there's an expression, different one, like hide the broccoli like beneath the cheese or something, right? And then some people are like, they just want to see the broccoli, they want to see all the stems there, and they're ready to go.
Yeah. Actually, I have a client who's sort of in the opposite side of things now, where they have a hamstring injury and they refuse to stop. Right. And so, and I had another client like that with a wrist injury. It took him 3 months to go to physio, and 2 weeks into physio, he's fine. He's back to push-ups. It's 3 months of casually bringing it up. 2 months of, sorry, we're not doing any push-ups in our workouts because, sorry, press-ups. We're not doing any press-ups, even though it's like your favorite move, because your wrist is injured. And then finally, 3 months later, he went to physio. It's like, the guy didn't even do anything. He just gave me a hand massage. Like 10 probing questions later, no, he did proper stretches. He used the electric stim to like stimulate the areas that weren't firing. He assessed that it wasn't an injury. He had just injured, healed, and never moved it again. So there's like a whole bunch of areas that were just seized up. Like 2 weeks later, he's totally fine. I'm just like,
That is a nice physio trip. They're not all that quick.
yeah. Well, his
That's a
was
good
probably
one.
an easy fix, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's a good one.
But yeah, so for you, I would sort of have this mental map of where you want to take them, and like almost like achievements in a video game. Like, okay, they actually did 2 cardio sessions in between our sessions. I'm gonna try to ease them into 3. Okay, they cut alcohol 2 nights a week. Okay, awesome. I'm going to see if I can get some more, some more recognizable fruit. Maybe they're not easy. Maybe their fruits and veggies aren't recognizable because they're like processed or something. Maybe try to get like half the plate on the occasional meal to be stuff like that, right? And it's just this like really slow
Baby
journey of
step.
working things in.
Yeah.
And sell more sessions a week.
Yeah.
Sell on nutritional advice, because if they pay you $30 to help them with their food for the week, they might actually listen. If they pay you $0 to help them with food for the week, they're probably just going to ignore you.
I feel that. It's like actually it would be better. It would be a win-win situation for them to be investing more, because the money you invest just turns into effort you invest, doesn't it? Yeah. For a lot of people, including myself.
Yeah, working in nutrition. So I'm finding that it sounds like if somebody wants to come to you and they have physical goals and nutrition goals, how do you work that into your sessions? Because it seems like nutrition coaching, it can take a lot longer. Like you can't in a 30-minute session, like my clients who come to see me like twice a week for 30 minutes, I don't have time to give them 2 good workouts and really dive deep into nutrition coaching with an hour a week, and so, how do you guys, so for the clients that aren't paying you separately for nutrition coaching, what I've been trying to do is just like pepper in talking about nutrition throughout the session, just like a little bit. But even then I just feel like we just don't really have time to talk about this. Like we're working, but yeah, how do you guys handle that?
I charge $175. It's 2 1-hour presentations and 15 check-ins over 15 weeks. So for me, I'm making just over $50 an hour on it, and I keep it outside of the sessions. And if they pay the money and they follow and they get a spreadsheet, they follow along, they fill in their stuff, I fill in my stuff, right? And yes, we'll bring it up in sessions every now and again, but I feel like you'll do both badly if you try to do nutrition coaching in the middle of a training session, right?
Yeah.
And yeah.
Oh, because I was gonna say, like my lesson. This is my lesson client of Don't Train Friends. My friend who's my client, who's being a really big baby during and also we've only had 1 session so far. It's been 2 months. He's come to see me once.
That's not a client.
No,
not anymore.
Well, and he's actually pissing me off at this point, because I'm telling him, I'm like, if everybody who is currently on my roster came in to see me the amount of times they told me they want to see me, I'm full. But if you're just going to fuck around and not come see me, then I have room to take more clients. So I'm in a holding pattern right now. I don't want to accept any more clients, because if I do, then that'll put me over. But if I have these people not using their sessions, then I want to take on more clients who are actually going to show up. Anyway.
But that's a strong position to be in, though. So the ones that are screwing you around the worst, you can literally say, I don't think this is the right fit. I'd love to see you, in future when you can commit to this. Or something.
Right. Well, at this point, I'm ready to just go ahead and like take on at least 1 more client. And then my friend who's, fucking around and not scheduling with me, if he's like, well, I can't get on your calendar, I can be like, well, you book me we have an app we use. It's like, well, you could have booked me like everybody else does. Like most people buy sessions and then use them. You were not. So I filled your spot. Like, what do you want from me? Anyway, no, this guy.
Should give his email to Jake.
Can I ask a bunch of questions about that? What is the gym policy? Okay, so let's say you're on. do you say how many open slots you have per week at the gym? Who
Do I
dictates
tell-
that?
I dictate that.
You dictate that.
I dictate that. So I basically make my own schedule. I can add my own availability. So we use an app. We use the Mind Body app. I don't know if
Cool.
you guys have heard of that. And
Okay.
so, and I teach people during the consult. I teach them how to download the app, how to find me in the app.
Gotcha.
And book it. So I do a whole tutorial on that. If they need help, I will help them initially. But basically, it's I don't book your sessions for you. You book your sessions with me.
Okay, so can I ask another hypothetical?
Yeah.
Let's say at your gym, you open up Sunday at noon, one session.
Uh-huh.
Is there any reason you can't have 25 personal training clients based on your gym rules?
Is there any reason why I can't have 25? No, I mean, as long as there's
You could
room-
sell 25 people 10 packs or 12 packs or whatever,
Yeah.
but you only have 1 hour a week available. There's nothing stopping you from that.
Oh, yeah, technically no, but yeah, the owner would probably get really mad at me. Yeah. Because
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to take care of them.
So, and then the moment I'm starting to get unused sessions because my current clients aren't being aggressive enough in terms of booking, I'm immediately going to take extra clients.
Okay.
I'm going to keep taking clients, right? And when I'm booking 3 weeks out, I'll back off.
Okay.
So you have, let's say you have in your backpack 5 clients with 10 sessions each, and they're being real bad about booking, right? And then you take on a couple more clients, and now they finally get in. Oh, see you later, Chris. They finally get in, and then they're like, I'm trying to book you, but you're only available 3 weeks from now. And you're like, yeah, that's my availability. But at that point, I would stop taking people, right? Because my sense is that let's say you're available 10 hours a week, you're only working 7 of those because you're waiting for people. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, don't do that. Work all 10. Fill the 10, and your gym has a pretty strong policy about like expiring the sessions. So you need to do your due diligence. Like, for example, let's say your bosses be like, wow, you've had 2 clients with sessions that expired this month. You could be like, well, here's the 3 texts I sent them each. Here's the 2 emails I sent them each. And here's the call log on my phone. I really tried to prevent that from happening, but they just didn't book, right? I did everything. I called them, I emailed them, I texted them, and their sessions expired. I did my best, right? Next time they buy, they're going to know, get on my schedule or waste your money, right? But you have one life. Like, this is it. Like, I'm
Right.
43. This is my 43. I don't get to do 43 again. So if they're not booking this week, I'm taking somebody else.
No, I like that approach. And yeah, it sounds like that's what I'm just going to need to do. And it's just going to have to be tough love, essentially, to be like, because I've texted him about 3 times not in a shaming way, just to like, and it's framing him like I'm trying to help him. Like, hey, you know what? I'm looking ahead at my calendar. I only really have a couple spots open this week. I want to make sure if you want to come in this week, you can. So do you feel like you want to take one of my few slots left this week? I'm not like, you haven't booked. What's wrong with you? Hey, I'm just trying to help you out. If you want to come in this week, get on my calendar now. And he's always like, I'll book when I'm ready. I'll book when I'm ready. There's too much going on. I'm busy. Which actually, do you guys want a slight tangent about this guy too? No, this is hilarious.
Ooh.
This is hilarious.
This is being recorded, FYI. Just so
Yeah. YouTube.
That's fine. That's fine. No,
This anonymous person who doesn't really exist, of course.
this anonymous person, let's call this person Bill. Definitely not this person's name. So Bill is married, has been married for a long time. I've never met his wife, but I know his wife. I know his wife through mutual friends. Either way, been married a long time, happily married, blah, blah, blah. So the one and only session this person has come to, he shows up with another woman. And I'm like, first of all, I'm already like, why would you bring a friend to a session? That's already kind of weird. But like, I don't care. I'm like the only trainer in the gym at this point. It's like 8:30 at night. And he's like, oh, hey, I was already hanging out with this friend. Do you mind, we were already doing stuff. And then I knew I had to come here. And she said she wanted to watch. Is that cool? And, in my mind, I'm like, I don't care, like, whatever. And she's even like, oh yeah, I brought a book. I won't be a bother. And again, I'm like, in my head, I'm like, this is weird, but I don't care, you know, whatever, just be quiet, leave me alone, you know, let me train and do whatever you want to do. So he came not ready. He wasn't dressed for the session yet. So he's like, okay, I need to go to the bathroom and get my gym clothes on. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm alone with this woman. And I'm like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. Like, what have you guys been doing tonight? And they're like, oh yeah, she's like, oh yeah, we went out here for dinner and then we caught a movie there. Basically describing like a date. I'm sitting there going like,
Run.
okay.
You need to run from this drama.
So I'm just like, this sounds like a date, right? But I'm like,
that you're facilitating, that you're hosting even.
right. So I'm just like, okay, whatever. And then he comes back out and like he's showing her something on his phone and they are like chummy. Like I would not, if I was married, I would not sit that close to somebody of the opposite sex, nor would I look at someone the way that they were looking at each other. So basically intuition, I'm like, something's going on here. But then I put 2 and 2 together and I realized, oh, I think this dude's polyamorous because this person, I won't get into it. There's a couple other clues that I had suspected. And I'm like, okay, this dude's polyamorous. And now he's including me in this. Like,
Yeah.
This is,
like
stay away from these messes.
Do not bring your side flings to your sessions. Like, for the love of God, like.
But you should put that in your contract from now on.
no side flings.
No side flings.
No, the whole point of even bringing up this client is, this client had initially said he wanted me to help him with nutrition. And I'm just like, there's just not time. Like I'm finding I have to like send him emails outside of the session, give him, advice on this and that. And I'm like, this is a bunch of like unpaid time. Like this is stupid.
I mean, this person is living rent free in your head right now.
Yeah. It's
because you've talked about them like every week for like 3 weeks, I think. Right? So I want to call you out just a little bit.
It's not rent free. It's just cheap rent.
Yeah, I just want to call you out just a little bit. Like let them go. Let this person go and move on.
No, you're right. I'll stop.
And this is going to happen. This is going to happen, right? There's going to be people who come to you with like conditions where it's like, I'm going to be on like heart medication. I need to turn my life around. And you watch them fail. And you are professional and responsible and respectful, and there's nothing you can do, right, about it. It's not the same as like walking out of a hospital and refusing medical care. It's not that blatantly ridiculous, but there's going to be like really situations where you kind of feel like, did I do something wrong? This person needs to turn their life around, etc. Right? So. But like letting go of that and making sure that you don't get, because there's definitely, like at my last big box gym, there were the people, the trainers and the people that were all up in everybody's drama, sleeping with people's wives, getting involved with other trainers, going out and partying and having casual flings, and their jobs did not last. Some of them got fired, some of them couldn't come into work, they're too embarrassed, some of them lost clients because of their bad reputation. Like it's just messy, right?
Yeah.
So if I can give you any advice, just like, because Trivergent seems kind of like a pretty close knit, right?
Yeah, it is pretty close knit.
And so you don't want to have that reputation of like gossiping about other people's sex lives, or being involved in other people's sex lives, or whatever your business is that is just like, it's just not in the realm of being a trainer. And it can be kind of dangerous to start like letting the personal side like
absolutely.
in.
Oh yeah, I'm with you 100%. I feel like this client is trying to involve me in a mess that I'm just like not into.
In terms of booking for other folks, like do other people like book a week in advance? Do you book a month in advance? Like how do you do it that way? Right, because Lindsay seems to have this sort of fluid ability to book because of an app. But how do you guys do it?
Well, my guys are mostly pay for a month in advance, month by month, and then we just have an assumption or an agreement rather that you're coming to me twice a week or 3 times a week. These are the normal times. If something comes up, we can rearrange, but we get those 2 sessions in that week. Very exceptional circumstances, I might let them carry a session over, but it's not just like, oh, I didn't feel like it. And so I'll catch them up. It's like, no, it was 2 a week, and you weren't proactive to book it in, so that's your loss.
So my in terms of I'm not sure if I remember the exact question, but my diary isn't that full, so I have the luxury of being able to just book in. I book in people's sessions the day, so people pay me for a block of sessions, block of 5 or 10, and I book in the next session at the end of their current session. But because my diary is quite malleable, so that's relatively easy for me as it stands. But I don't have any plans on changing that even when I get more busy. Yeah.
How about you, Jake? How do you book your people?
Sorry, there's something going on next door and I have no idea, but it's very loud. So I've had a similar schedule for the past few months, which is kind of nice. Well, probably for like a year or two, and just consistent people. But if I have somebody new, I look at, okay, when are you looking to start? We go month by month, usually, or week by week. And if I have the time during their free time of the week to do that, then I go forward with it. But if I don't, then I see other ways I can help them. I haven't run into a lot of issues of not being able to help somebody. So if that's just meeting less until I have the open time, I do that. Occasionally I'll fill my weekends with sessions. I really don't like to. Like to have at least some days off in the week. And it's kind of a catch up on the weekends. But I did 2 yesterday because I've been putting them off for like 3 weeks. I just haven't had the time. And if I can set somebody up and then have them go to another gym and do it, and then just do online corrections of their workout until I can meet with them, then I do that.
Nice.
So that's a difficult question.
In terms of Lindsay, your client, I think Adrian's one of the key things I got of what Adrian's saying is like, you don't need to worry about if like some eventuality where you can't see this guy for a week. Like if you've got, even if like you don't need to have a free session next week, because if he calls you up and says I can only see you next week, then that's a problem anyway that you're not under like obligation to fix. So I think like Adrian was saying, like 3 weeks, you know, in the realms of that, like you can get yourself booked up, and then if the absolute worst case scenario is I can't see you next week, I can see you the week after or the week after, that's not a bad place to be in anyway.
Yeah, I think that's smart. It's just, all of my other clients either have set times every week, you know, like, okay, I see you Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. and then Sunday at 10:30 a.m. You know, they have specific slots
And that is preferable.
That they chose. And then I encourage them. I tell them like, okay, you have that spot, so go in there and pre-book it. Like, I'm not going to hold this spot for you. You have to, like, here's the app. I showed you how to book it. And I have one client who did. She went through all 12 of her sessions. As soon as she bought her package, she booked it out. And I'm like, great, then you have that spot reserved if that's what you need. And a couple times she's had to like reschedule or whatever, and that's fine. And she can do that at her leisure. And then so I encourage people to do that. I have another client, my other clients either book 1 week out or 2 weeks out. Like they'll look ahead at their schedule coming up the next week. They'll go ahead and book their 2 to 3 sessions. Then, you know, I can see, because I can also see them booking it in the app. Like I get notifications and stuff like that. So yeah, almost everybody does that. Except, like I said, except this one, you know, my friend who's not booking any. So yeah, no, that's smart. So yeah, I like, yeah, basically I tell people, you know, I put the onus of scheduling on them. Like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, when can I book you, and pull out my phone and book it for them. You know, okay, I lied. I do that for one client. I do that for my 66-year-old client because she's 66 and apps are hard for her. So I actually do go ahead and like pre-book her out 2 or 3 weeks. And we talk about it. She tells me what she needs. But yeah, I would say if you're older than 60, or if you're younger than 66 or even 60, I'm going to make you book it yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, so the onus is on you. So if you mess around and you forget to book and I'm not available in your preferred time, it's sorry, snooze, you lose. So the onus is really on you and not on me to reserve that spot for you.
Since I started doing this full time, because this is all I do, I don't have so I'm basically available roughly 50 hours a week. That's my availability. I don't train 50 clients a week. That would be nuts. But since I've been more proactive, so again, this is because I'm full time and roughly I'm available from 6 a.m. till 7 p.m. every day. Been more proactive on the scheduling and working with people on their schedule. I saw about an increase of income about 10%. That's the hand holding, right? The hand holding for scheduling helped my income go up by about 10%. So an extra, like, extra $600 or $700. Yeah,
That's huge.
Yeah. And if it depends, and again, it's a very different scenario because you have a gym, right? So I also have a little studio, which I'm not allowed to open because we're in lockdown 17, the Cowabunga lockdown. Like, it's nuts here. We've had 3 lockdowns and every one has been progressively way worse. Look at this delivery.
Oh, pass us one.
I think she even barbecued. Yep, yeah, it's healthy food too, right? Anyway, so yeah, it's good to have a fiance. So what was I saying? This smells so good. Oh my God.
Oh, come on, man.
I literally have completely lost my train of thought.
Adrian, you were saying that once you started doing more hand holding with scheduling, you saw like a 10% increase in income.
Right. And the way I treated it is as a way of coaching. Right. It's coaching to help them with their scheduling. Most folks don't need it because a lot of my folks are 40 plus and they're professionals, so they already understand how to schedule their day. But like, if you treat it like a coaching opportunity to help to build consistency, then that's really great.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. And Adrian, that's what I started doing, like pretty much from the beginning, was like, but luckily I'm genuine with this. This isn't a sales tactic when I use it. At least right now, but actually framing it as, hey, I'm trying to help you. I have limited availability. This is all I got. So if you want on my calendar, you need to book it in advance, and this is when I'm available. Like, take it or leave it. So they know that before they even buy a session. These are the hours I'm open. Based on what we talked about, I recommend X number of sessions per week. Plus, we have group classes at my facility that are more like small group training. So I may throw in like, try to come to 1 class a week. So yeah, and most of my clients listen to me and go ahead and pre-book and, book classes and things like that. So yeah, I feel like that has helped sort of like prescribing a schedule to them.
Nice. Well, maybe this would be a good time to go new topic. This isn't so much of a topic as just saying, I've started my corrective exercise specialist course under the influence of our man Jake, and I'm really liking it so far, and it fits. I like how I was kind of scared when I first went on it that it was gonna, obviously one of like the big segments of it is like stretching. And I was kind of concerned it was going to be in the dark ages of stretching where it was just like banging on about static stretching like it's the 70s or something. But it actually goes into the kind of the pros, the cons, how to like mitigate the downsides of stuff. So I'm only maybe 30% through the whole course, but I'm really enjoying it. So I definitely recommend it to anybody else.
Nice.
Is that NASM?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So it's online only. But it's good, and like the setup's good, works pretty seamlessly on my computer and my phone, which I'm happy about. So I'm able to do it on the go, like really well, better than other online platforms I've seen. So yeah, pretty happy. And I'm looking forward to when it's like the movement screens. I'm gonna be certainly using them more because that's a weak point in my game at the moment. Like using specific movements to actually like narrow down the exact issues with people. So what do you guys, I may have even asked this before. What do you guys do to stretch the hips?
What part of the hips? Front, back?
Front, sorry, front, the hip flexors. So for example, with this with this client who I was talking about earlier, I've got her just doing like kneeling hip stretch with like really good form. But is there anything else you guys would be doing? Like what's it called? Like you know, is it the Thomas test, I think? Or where you're, you know, you're supine and you bring like one leg down off the bench or the bed? Anything
Yeah.
like that? Because it's a massive issue, isn't it? Like hip flexor, lack of extension, right?
Yeah, this is a little bit an area that I know a little bit, having torn my hip flexor last year. So the first thing I'd say is, yeah, the Thomas test, you're right, is a test of whether your hip flexors are tight, and you lie on a bench or something, bring one knee up and extend the other leg out, and if the leg doesn't touch the surface, then you may have tight hip flexors. So perhaps some stretching could be useful. But my primary message would be very careful about stretching the hip flexors, because it's very easy to overdo, and then just create a weakness there, which leaves you liable to injury. And it's not a fun injury to get over.
I actually also got I was stretching my hips at one point, doing like long like couch stretch, if you know it, just like similar to the kneeling kind of position, and I got some pain in my it right in there as well. So I was a bit put off doing it too. But that's, so you've given me an extra problem on top of my problem. Do you have any solutions?
For most people,
Yeah.
I wouldn't stretch their hip flexors at all.
Jake's foam rolling the quads and the hip flexors, is he, I think?
Yeah, foam rolling, good. I would also potentially look into if they have hip flexor dysfunction. If it's not, they've got a problem actually contracting it properly. And there's a test you can do where, I got this from Athlete X, where you stand up, or get them to stand up, and they raise their knee. So you have a surface where you can have them put their foot on so that their knee is above their hip, and then you try and like move it off the surface. And if they can't keep it up there, if it drops, then potentially the hip flexors aren't strong enough, and then you can do things like prone banded marches, or standing high marches with a band. Looking to progress to maybe like slow squat eccentrics, particularly front squat eccentrics I found really useful, but only in later stages if we are talking about someone who's got an injury, because that's quite often not tolerated at all. Same with anything in a real, even a moderate split stance.
Yeah, so that's a good one, and I like the positioning on that one. It's different from the other one. Yeah, nice. And yeah, Jake was doing the foam rolling as well. Rec fem foam roll. Yeah, while doing the hip stretch. Interesting.
That helped my rowing a lot.
Helped your rowing?
Rowing a lot. Yeah.
As in like cardio rowing, is that?
Yeah, because I was feeling my hip flexors and giving the rectus, all the quads that I can get to, giving them a good foam roll, 30-second stop on any points of pain, and then doing the hip stretch, and then my rowing felt a lot better.
It should be said that anyone who's overweight will quite often struggle to foam roll their quads because of the position where they have to be on top of it. It's just hard for them to support themselves, I found.
Yeah, so I'm going to try something, because it's a problem that I share with like loads, very high percentage of my clients, like the kind of, just anterior pelvic tilt, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's going to get even worse over the years. People working from home, it's going to be rampant.
Good to see you guys. I'm going to take off.
All right, man. Yeah, likewise.
See you there, buddy.
Catch you soon.
Cheers.
Fun times as usual.
Yeah.
I have someone coming over, which was why I have the Tanqueray. It's gonna be really fun.
I think you've already gotten started though. That's what I'm sensing.
Well, it's the reason why. All right, you guys.
Good luck.
All right, man. Enjoy.
Yeah, I think just to add more complication to the whole thing, Freddie, my experience has been sometimes you have a really tight, short, overworked muscle. Sometimes you have a really weak, lengthened muscle. And, the textbooks are like, okay, anterior pelvic tilt, that means that they should be weak and lengthened, right? but that's not always the case for hip flexors. Do I have that backwards?
Yeah. I think you've got that backwards. Yeah. They're
So wait,
overactive
anterior-
and short. Overactive and
Oh,
short.
yeah, you're up. Sorry, posterior.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So
It's just the other side of the coin, basically. Yeah.
yeah, you're absolutely right. Sorry about that.
That's right.
And so then, but then you don't know if they're fatigued or if it's actually weak, or it's like I've definitely found it's quite challenging to sort of nail down, and then it gets doubly challenging over Zoom.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah. In my head at the moment, I still haven't quite worked it out for this client of mine. Yeah. But I just feel like it's got to be shortened hip flexors, right? Am I right in that? It just like that must be part of the equation, and then stuff like inactive glutes is just really likely to be part of the equation. Same with like abs, right? And then because I mean, surely if you're in that position where your kind of pelvis is, I probably can't show it, where if it's kind of scrunched up backwards like that, like mine is a little bit. I mean, the hip flexors got to be implicated, right?
Even if there's nothing wrong with them, they're in that position for 8 hours.
Yeah. So even if there's nothing wrong with them, there's something wrong with them. Like this, the positioning is not good, right?
Another one that who is it? Adam Kubel on TikTok and Instagram. He's like the anti-chiropractor. That guy. Aaron Kubel. Yeah. So
love that guy.
Some of his stuff is actually pretty good. Some of it is like it's a take it or leave it, because he's got to do some shock doctrine or else people won't listen to him, right? And that's how you get thousands of followers. But some of his stuff about that, which is just go on walks. Because I'd love to know sort of what is the reaction of that particular client that you have? What do they feel like after a 30-minute walk, where like they're walking and they have a light sweat? Because if they come to you and they say, my lower back is on fire from going on a walk, that's probably going to be different than if they come to you and say, my hip flexors are so tired. Or what happens at the end of the walk? What happens at the end of sort of something low intensity, steady state?
Yeah. But so that would be really interesting, and I'll ask them that actually, like what manifests after a walk. But if they've just got if their lower back has been contracting for the last 40 years or something, then actually they might not feel it in their lower back, or like compared to the pain they sometimes feel in their lower back, they might not even barely register it, right? So isn't there an element of like they're so used to it that actually you can't actually get the answer out of their brain,
Absolutely. And the other side of it is that what they call pain, might just be incredibly quick fatigue and effort in the muscle, and they're just not used to the effort. I had a client who was giving me all these like pain signals with any sort of overhead press, and I took a bit of a gamble, but I was like, just do the movement anyway. And it was just that their traps and like they were shrugging at the same time as overhead pressing, right? This is Zoom, so it's like really hard to tease out the problems.
Yeah.
But these small muscles were just becoming incredibly fatigued incredibly quickly. So they were saying that the reps were really, really painful. But over time, it turned out the reps were not painful at all. They're first off
tensing really hard. Yeah.
Tensing really hard for a small muscle that they're not used to using. And then they're returning to exercise after like a 20-year break. So they can't even tell the difference between my muscle is suddenly very tired and I've got a bruise. Like they just can't, their body awareness is so low.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, that sounds familiar too, Adrian, because a lot of my clients are like completely brand new, like, or I have 2 clients in their 60s, and I ask them a lot, like, if I ask them like any pain with this movement, or where are you feeling this movement, and sometimes they'll say like, oh yeah, this feels like I've cued them to the point where they tell me like if it just feels like it's fatigued, like they're working it. Like, especially if it's their lower back, I'm like, okay, tell me about your lower back. How does it feel in your lower back? Is it pulling? Is it pinching? Is it sharp? Or does it feel like your lower back is just working a little bit? Cause like, so it sounds like that client Yeah, that's, I mean, I run into that too, even as a new trainer, like people saying, oh yeah, that's kind of, it hurts. And I'm like, okay, is it sore because you're using it, or does it actually hurt? Like, because there's a difference between exertion and,
yeah, like sometimes if you like, I usually get them to say words about it, because sometimes they're like, yeah, it just kind of feels like all over, like it's kind of burning, but it doesn't feel that bad, and it just feels like it's really tense, and it's like, yeah, yeah, it's contracting, yeah. Yeah.
So
then, yeah.
one idea that I've used, but you have to be careful with it, is this idea of take them very close to failure with a movement that you think that they're pretty comfortable and safe with, like the bicep curl, right? That's one that can often be safe. Again, tennis elbow, they've got other problems, don't do this, right?
Yeah.
But like if they can bicep curl and actually get them to go to failure.
Yes.
Right?
So
okay,
they're
two
like,
more.
yeah.
Okay, two more. Okay,
Yeah.
two more. All right, keep going. Right. And they're like, it hurts. Just do another one. Just do another one. Right. And then you could be like, okay, so you're not injured. That's what it feels like to work your muscle a lot. And you're just not used to it.
Yeah,
right?
I love that. Like bicep curls as a way to actually show people this,
And
or like
and-
another small exercise.
Exactly. And so, and I'm still struggling with it, especially when I get into a situation where I can't be there, right? And it's like over Zoom or whatever. And you know what they're saying is just like the number of times I've had somebody do rows and be like, "Oh, my pecs are so tired."
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
"What? You're rowing. You're like that's the other side. What's happening?" Right? And they just have no body awareness.
It's because
And
they're getting
so-
some sort of a stretch, isn't it?
Exactly.
If they've got the scapular position good and they don't have that in everyday life. Yeah, I've had that. I think it was actually that exact thing, or it's something very similar, like like an antagonist that was stretching out, and they were like, oh, it's I really feel it there, and I was like, okay, interesting, like in my head.
Yeah, and it's really tricky. You really have to get to know them, and this is where I prefer. There's two real advantages to the way that I like to get people into really hard training, which is that you're with them a lot longer and you truly try to get to know them as a person, right? Like I have one client that has 10 out of 10 scrunch face when he's doing like a 2 out of 10 mild stretch. Right. I'm like, okay, put your toes up on the wall and start to stretch your calf. And he's like, right. But I know him. I'm like, oh, that's no big deal.
Yeah.
If anything, if he's doing something hard and he doesn't have scrunch face, then I know something's up.
It's got to be harder.
Exactly. Because I've just gotten to know him, right? And then you sort of start to build the language with them. And it's way slower than doing proper movement screens. It's slower than doing proper assessments. But they really feel like you get to know who they are as a person. And it's not harmful. I'm still giving them a good workout. And so far it's been trending towards many more sessions.
Okay.
Right? It's okay to take a little longer to get there, as long as you can repeatedly show over your years of training that you're not injuring people, right? Because I'd rather, like, if there was some sort of magical like Google document that you could pull up on trainers, I would rather go to a trainer who is like 70% efficient in terms of getting me as strong as fast as possible with like a 2% injury rate.
Yeah.
Versus somebody who's like 95% efficient at getting me as strong as I can be, but with like a 12% injury rate. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
About this?
So I'd be the opposite. So that probably shift as I age as well.
And
like
you have to
injuries and stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah.
We need to create this as if it's possible.
Yeah, and it one of the best things to do, like if you were to do a cut right now, you'd journal it, right? You'd be like, okay, I'm going to keep track of my macros, I'm going to keep track of my calories, I'm going to keep track of my exercise. You journal it so that, let's say your cut date is 6 weeks from now, that you have a real likelihood of actually getting there. Do something like that in terms of your meta view for your clients, just to know, like, am I injuring the hell out of people? right? Because you have sort of confirmation bias, or the opposite if you're not confident at the beginning, like, damn it, I'm injuring everybody.
Yeah.
But then if you look back and you're like, oh, actually, wait a second, I'm just having an emotional reaction because somebody got injured and I'm new and I feel like I've just injured somebody. Oh my gosh, right? It just feels really bad. But actually, that's the only time I injured somebody this year, right? Quote unquote, injured, right? Like you do your best.
As if it's you 100% doing the thing. Yeah.
Like unless you picked up the barbell, turned suddenly and smacked them in the nose, it probably wasn't you, right? Yeah. Like you gave them.
You were just present, and you were like leading them. So it's it's a spectrum of responsibility.
Exactly,
isn't it?
It's a spectrum. Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, do you guys want to hear my cringy story of the week?
Is it about the guy?
No. Actually, I have a couple cringy stories, but
let's go.
No. So my 66-year-old client, she's the most lovely person. I mean, she's lovely. I love training her. She's such a good sport. Anyway. So she was in one of my strength classes because she's coming to see me twice a week, and then she takes a class once a week, and she comes to my class. And so one of the stations was assisted pull-up or assisted pull-ups or chin-ups on the little assisted machine. And she was really scared because she's like, and she's not that heavy. Like for reference, like, gosh, she's shorter. I mean, I would put her at maybe 180 pounds, like maybe. So, I mean, we have like guys who are like 300 pounds come to our gym, and like use these machines. And she's like, I don't know. It's because I showed her, I was showing her how to do a chin up. And she's like, I don't know, you're much smaller than me. I don't know if it's going to hold me. And I'm like, told her, I'm like, this is going to hold you.
Sue us if it doesn't hold you.
Okay, I didn't say that. Hold on. I didn't. For legal reasons, this is a joke. No. But I was like, listen, hey, there are men who come here who are very, large, and they use this machine. You'll be fine. And she's like, okay. I don't know what the ever-loving F happened. She stepped on it. So I put the most assistance. I don't know how to describe it, but like the most weight on the
counterweight.
Yeah.
So that way, like, it should have been fine. Like it should have more than held her. For some reason, she stepped on it, and that little assisted part just went straight to the ground.
Oh God! Was the clip not in or something well enough?
I looked at it later because that's the first day I was like, did I do something? And so no, like after the class, I immediately let the gym owner know, and I'm like, you need to look at this machine because but I just felt so bad because I told her it was gonna hold her.
You were like, trust me.
And then she's like, I told you I'm too heavy. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're perfect. Like, this is not. And I was like, oh my God, this has never happened before. So now she's scared of it. And it was all my fault because I told you it's safe. And then she just went whoop straight down. And I'm like, oh my God, of course. And again, of course, late in that class, there was one of our gym members who's at least 300 pounds. He's a big dude, big, tall dude. And he was using it just fine. So I don't know what the hell happened.
Is it like, I guess, do you know how much the maximum like counterweight was? Because if maybe the machine actually can't handle the maximum counterweight, but you just would never need that much. Because some of them go really high. Like she would have been like half the weight of it or something.
I don't know.
Maybe.
And she also did, so luckily I like caught her. Like she didn't actually fall and hurt herself. Thank God. Like I sort of caught her. She caught herself versus I was there to like support her. She was fine. But yeah, that's a good point. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, no one got hurt. And then actually I wasn't teaching the class, but I was in the class. Somebody broke their ankle doing box jumps last week at our gym. Yeah, they landed the wrong way, rolled their ankle, and immediately just bam, hit the ground.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so that was a little scary. We had to call someone to take her to the hospital. That was fun.
I'm surprised that's not a more common injury. I've not heard of somebody doing that before.
I tore a ligament in my ankle last year by star jumping onto a dumbbell.
Oh, that sounds so painful.
Yeah, but being me, and I was in a group class as a participant, and didn't want to sort of, I was embarrassed already. So I carried on like 20 minutes doing like squats, frog jumps, all sorts.
Oh man.
And by the end of it, it was like that wide.
Oh, man.
God, the adrenaline got you through.
That's it. Yeah, it wasn't all that bad in the session, but I mean, I could barely walk for the next month or something.
Oh, dude.
I have a couple. So from the beginning, when I was first personal training, way back when, bicep curls out with resistance bands. I didn't hook up the bands properly, so it was curl, let go, schmap right in the face with the band. That one was like, I was like red, beet red. That was awful.
Something about
just
the disrespect
recently,
of the slap as well.
Oh yeah, right. And her nose was like marked a little bit. It was bad. And then the one that was more recent, I paid the price. I don't know if I could recreate it. I set up a military press on the power rack with the thing. And I guess I can't even remember how I did it wrong, but they took the bar off, and then I was like, "Oh shoot, this is bad." So thankfully, it wasn't very heavy, but I ended up having to catch it, and like basically like front shoulder raise, bicep curl it over their head so that it didn't crush their neck and face. And like, thank gosh, they're only shoulder pressing like 65 pounds or something like that, right? And it like for me to like front raise curl 65 is not easy at all, right? But I was like,
get it like overhead, like,
and and I've got to like do this, and because I'm spotting them from behind, and I don't know, I made a mess of it. I don't know what I did. I think I faced the bench the wrong way, right? So like racking and unracking was the counterintuitive way or something. I don't know, my brain. But yeah, I saved my embarrassment by like really hurting my shoulders a little bit.
So,
like,
so what happened? Did they fail the rep? I don't understand how it got to that. Did they fail the rep?
The way they grabbed it up was awkward, and it kind of dropped.
Oh, okay.
Right, because there's like a good position and a bad position starting a military press. I think they were starting here or something because I set them up wrong, and so they were kind of like lifting it off in a position that they're very weak. And yeah, I couldn't recreate that position if I wanted to.
You basically had to do a front raise with this like
and
actual
then
shoulder press weight. Oh,
God. And like put it back onto the things and like be like, let's do this with dumbbells, and like quickly pivot to a totally different act. By the way, that I've had luck with that when you really muck something up, go to an alternative that works the same muscle group.
I always wanna if it's especially if it's me who's done something like I've just like, oh shit, I didn't get that set up like perfect. I always like to do it like to be like, I always like to prove the situation right, but I should just pivot.
There's you got to make a call, right? But like singers, I have a singer client. You screw up a note in a song, you don't try to sing back and correct, just keep going. Keep it going.
No, Adrian, you got that adrenaline that that mothers use to lift cars off of, if their kids run over by a car, they can lift you, and you were like, it's okay, little Timmy, I'll save you.
And basically
you got a killer new 1 rep max on your front raise.
Front raise, bicep curl,
front raise, like bicep curl. Overhead bicep curl.
Who does is there a supinated hand supinated front raise? I don't think there is.
It's either like this or this, right?
Yeah, typically, right? But I guess I'm doing. This is my new exercise.
You got the world record.
Whoop! Nope. Wait. No. Stop. Yeah, that's terrible.
Actually, yeah. I have that brings up a question. What do you do when you're spotting somebody who is lifting more than you can lift? Is that when you don't spot them, or how does that work?
It really depends on the lift, right?
Okay.
Yeah, really depends on the lift. So if it's like deadlift, depending on the floor, you don't mind breaking. It's really not that much of a problem. Well, you can't really spot it, but okay. So
I was going to say, because that brings up.
That's. I just wanted to do the big three.
Hold on. Wait. Can I just jump in on that?
Yeah.
I had a goal of hip thrusting 400 by 40. And I smashed it. Like, that was way too easy. I should have set it way higher. Nice. But I was trying 405 for the first time, and there's a guy that goes to the gym always. I'm like, all right, this is my first time. This is my new PR. Can you come and spot me? This is a glute like a hip thrust. My back is on a bench. The bar is across my waist. I just have to raise my hips and then put them down, right?
Yeah.
I was dead faced. I was like, all right, come over and spot me. This is my first time doing this. And he's like, you know that face where you're like, I don't know how to spot that that exercise.
Cowgirl.
And he's like, what do I do? I'm like, yeah, just stand over me and just like wrap your hands around my butt like this. And if I'm struggling, just sort of deadlift my ass, right? And he's like looking at me and he's like sweating a little bit. He's like, because he's not sure. And then I just like busted out laughing, but like,
Sorry, yeah. Let me recover this. Okay, deadlift is a dumb one, so don't worry. But like,
So-
okay, let's go squat versus bench.
right.
Like squat, if like bench, generally, as a general rule, not always. Not always. If somebody's gonna fail a bench, but they're like they know what they're very used to benching, you won't have to help them out much to help them get it up. Something like a squat, you can pretty much cover people just with you on the bench. With a squat, if you've got a client who's like, excuse the American ones, who is 200 pounds and they're squatting 400 pounds, you ain't going to be able to do much behind them, and it's not going to be able to be that useful. So you basically can't squat them. And I would even say, even if they're squatting body weight, you probably can't squat them, because although you can do the thing where you really get behind them, in my experience with squat, some people can really like when they're coming out of the hold, they can really like lose power, like lose more power than you'd expect. Whereas bench press, it's like they're trying to bench 200 and actually they can only bench 190 and it's not quite going up. You give them that extra 10 and it's going up. My experience with squat is not like that. So with squat, people can really fail at the bottom and you can't give them that little extra boost and they can make it. They're actually just not going to make it because they lose.
Also, they'll also tend to panic at the bottom of a squat. If they realize they can't get back up, they'll just sort of switch off completely. I found no matter what you tell them beforehand, like if you fail and I need to get in there, don't completely get out from under the weight, but there's just something in them. They're like, I'm about to die, off I go. And then you're left there trying to hold, Zercher hold a 200 kilo bar.
Pull an Adrian on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So same thing. I've spotted some people pretty heavy, and they ditch if they're stuck in the hole. You can help on the way up. So if they get out of the hole and they're just having a tough time finishing that squat, and you can get in, get your arms under their armpits and help them finish and walk them into the rack, like that for sure. But yes, if you get under them and they're at the bottom and they can't do anything, they're going to ditch it onto you. Like, where's that bar going to go? If they sit on their ass and it falls backwards, it's going to go onto your knees or your feet, or not your feet, but your knees or your hips or your chest, right?
If you're right in there. Yeah. If you're right in there, literally you're making the chain there. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're in real big trouble there. But like for the vast majority of new, like beginner and intermediate, you probably are doing exactly what Freddie said. You're just taking 20 pounds off so they can finish whatever they're doing.
That makes sense. Well, I was teaching a class the other day where one of the stations was bench press, and the three of our most of our classes are usually women, but for some reason men have been coming to my class. I don't think it's anything weird. It's just like that's just when they started showing up. Mm-hmm. So I had like 3 really strong dudes in my class, and they were all like bench pressing like way more than I could bench press, like at least 120 pounds, I think. I mean, I didn't actually count it, but just based on like, I just remembering plates. Yeah. And I asked one of them, like, oh, do you need a spotter? And he's like, no, I'm good. But I'm like, oh, thank God, because I don't think I can spot you, bro.
So the key thing in what I'm saying, in something like squat, that is a big problem. In bench press, like, assuming that there's safeties like there, that they're low, they'd save them from getting crushed, but like as in it would still be uncomfortable to lose it there. You can help because you can deadlift more than the 20. Like most of the time they're only going to need the 5 kilo lift. Mm-hmm. You can deadlift way more than like the amount that they're going to fail it by, unless their arms fall off. Or like, a dislocation and stuff like that. So you do need the safeties, but
or they're being an idiot, right? So here's what I would do.
Yeah.
If you're somebody comes over to you to okay, so first I know where I'm comfortable. If there isn't 2 plates on the bar, right? Anything with one plate plus any, unless they're stupid and they have like 5 25s or something on each end. No, but like just think of it in full 45-pound
proper
plates.
Yeah.
Proper plates. If
Big
if they're below 2 plates, I feel comfortable I can spot anyone. Even if their 1 rep max is like the bar. And they're
going for
they're being a complete idiot. I can get that up and off of them, but that's what I know. So maybe for you, your wiggle room is 50 pounds or 75 pounds or something. If they're a stranger to you, right, you just be like, oh, what's your personal best right now? Or what's your working weight right now? Right. And they look at you and they go, and you could guess off their body language too, right? Like, what's your personal best right now? And they look over and they say, oh, I don't know. I haven't benched in a while. Right. Then it's like, okay, all righty. Let's ask some more probing questions here.
Yeah.
Right?
Avoid the gung ho. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a really good caveat to this, actually, the gung ho ones.
Yeah. And so then you're in there, be like, what's your working weight? I was like, oh, I'm working at 185, but I want to see if I can push 225 once. Be like, oh, okay. So in my head, I'm thinking, oh, so the worst case scenario, I have to be able to lift 40 pounds. Because their working weight for probably 5 to 8 reps or 2 to 6 reps is 185. So they can do 185. So I'm fine.
And that's a big buffer as well. Like you were saying, if they can do that many reps on the other one.
Yeah, exactly. And when you have people that the big one is when you have people that have no idea what they're doing. Right.
But do you ever have people who don't know what they're doing and they go that heavy? Because I think that really, yeah.
I think at the
they saw their mate do it.
Yeah, you see people doing stuff and you get excited, and I would say probably once every couple of months there was the story of we have to rescue somebody from under the bar. Yeah. And we had a good powerlifting culture. So there was a lot of folks in there. Like there was one of our trainers would be, deadlifting 7 plates and squatting 5 plates and bench pressing 4 plates and just like, and then all of the other folks. And then I remember one time I nearly panicked. There was this kid, he must have been 120 pounds. But he wasn't a kid and he was just really young.
Yeah.
But he's squatting 3 plates, no problem. I think he was doing 150, 200% of his body weight, just for work, not his max. And I was just like super, he was part of the powerlifting team. Like I just didn't know. So when he was about to lift, I was like, oh no. So I got really, and then he just picked it up, stepped back, braced his core, and just up and down,
smashed
up and down,
it.
up and down. I'm just like,
by this point, you're already under him, and he's like, get off me.
Get off me. Yeah. But I couldn't squat what he was squatting, and he was just right. So you really gotta
Yeah.
Because it gave me a heart attack because I'm sitting here trying to teach a class. I've got 8 people that I'm keeping my eye on, and then in the corner of my eye, I've got this 300-pound plus dude with 3 plates on each side of this bar, bench pressing, and then he starts to struggle, and I'm like, oh shit. Run over there, and I'm just nervously then he gets it up and over, and then I'm like, oh, okay, good.
No, but it's you plus him. It's you plus him. It's not you. It's not doesn't go completely to you.
Yeah. The other thing, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say there was this group of three guys. They were all working out next to each other at different stations, and they actually started spotting each other. And I was like, okay, good. I'll just let them do that.
In group fitness classes, I would say, I don't know how much training Trivergence gave you, but in our group fitness classes, everybody else doesn't exist if one person's about to get seriously injured. Right. So if you could stop the whole class if that person gets pinned under the bar.
Oh, of course.
Right. And get a bunch of people to run over and help. Right. One on either end, and right. There's no obligation to keep the class running while saving somebody's life.
And it's nothing to do with no bad on you for doing that either. It's nothing to do with you. It's literally good on you to be doing that. And
there's no bad on you to if you see somebody doing something silly like that, to go in and say this is a group, this is a circuit-based, strength-based group fitness class. We need to stay away from 1 rep maxes. We need to stay in your working range. Right, because you don't have regular spotting. Everybody's moving stations so quickly. This isn't a powerlifting session, right?
So we just started. So yes, normally, yes, I would agree with you. So what we're trying at our gym is So we have, we call it Strength Club. So these are the Strength Club classes. Again, it's like small group training, so 12 people or less. And there's 6 stations. Usually there's just one move per station. And so you're there for 6 minutes. And we started a new program, like block programming. So each day of the week, we're focusing, it's the same Strength Club exercise. And then we're going to be repeating that every week for like the next 2 months, so that our clients can like really focus on, you know, progressive overload, seeing, okay, so next week, if they come to this exact same, so if they come to Strength Club on this every Tuesday, then every Tuesday they should start, you know, they should be pushing themselves a little bit more. So yeah, I think people were pushing themselves in my class to try and be like, at the bench press station, like how much can I, you know? So yeah, it's small group, it's group fitness, but yeah, we are actually focusing on like 1 rep max kind of, or actually, you know, not 1 rep max, but just maximum strength. Bye, Ollie.
See you, man. Good to see you. I think Adrian's solution is actually better than this, but if you want to play it a bit more low key and you don't want to kind of lay the rules down, I would actually just be giving them a bit more attention, kind of running the class from behind them. And just be confident that unless they're going for something stupid, the amount that you can help out will just make them absolutely destroy that rep, like in a good way.
Okay. No, that's helpful to know.